Grand Rising, all. Welcome to the Daily Huddle. My name is Chase Still Gray. I'm your host for today. I have one of my favorite people with us today, and I'm very excited about that as always. But as always, I'm going to start out with a little joke, a little opener. Actually has the theme of our theme today. I have a joke for you. Michelle, what are or who are the best people to take to dinner?
I haven't a clue.
Yeah. That would be your taste buds.
Oh.
Hey, man. Hey, on this budget, hey, what kind of jokes can we get here?
Terrible.
That's really.
Hey, we're live too, by the way.
What kind of jokes can we get on this budget? What do you want here? It's not the Beacon Theater. Anyway, Grand Rising to everyone. And hey, I really want to just check the temperature of the room here before we get started. And then, every time we do this, we get to see who's on the call, who's here. I'm looking here and checking out our people today. I'm going to speak with, let's see. Why don't we go with, actually, you know what? Let's start with Michelle. Michelle, how are you today? And who will you hug?
I am fantabulous because I am the way I say that I am.
Fantabulous.
And I am going to hug, hopefully, my daughter. I'm looking forward to seeing her today.
Oh, spectacular. That's so nice to hear. I'm going to call on somebody I haven't called in a long time, and that is the man himself, Stan the Man.
My brother Chase.
Oh, there you go. I feel like I haven't seen you in a month of Sundays. Listen, where are you and what are you grateful for today?
Wow.
Said,
well, you know what? I am here. The only place that I could be, man.
That you are.
Is here. And I'm grateful for the fact that I am here. I wouldn't know what to do if I was somewhere else, but I probably would figure it out. But
what would I do if I was somewhere else? That's great. I like that.
Thank you, bro.
I love you. There's nothing you can do about it. Well, welcome everyone to the Daily Huddle. And if this is the first time you're joining us, I'm so happy for you. And if it's not the first time you're joining us, I want to talk to you about a gentleman that has been in my life for, over 20-something years. He's one of my favorite people. And his name is Daniel Johnson. I'm going to give you a little bit of information about him. I love this bio, by the way. Daniel is the son of God, a husband, a father, an entrepreneur, a cook, talented cook, according to his wife and everyone she invites over to dinner. Writer, vocalist, musician, and creative coach, and consultant who values integrity, transparency, and purpose. He works with his clients to amplify the transparency in their daily communication so they can authentically connect with the world as they walk through it and show up truthfully as the uniquely powerful person they were meant to be, embodying the uniquely powerful purpose they were made to fulfill in it. After years of struggling to skirt labels and expectations, hide from criticism, and avoid dislike, Daniel has discovered a unique gift and purpose, an agitator. Daniel has a knack for saying the one thing that will piss you off, enough to get you to move forward toward the thing which deep in your truest self you want most to say, and towards embracing the gift you may not even have realized you had. His passion is to ask questions, the questions others find difficult or rude, but that he sees as necessary in order to agitate you enough to stop running from your gifts for fear of judgment and to use them to honor your God-given purpose. Please welcome to the Daily Huddle, Daniel Johnson.
Morning.
Welcome,
I was about to give you an Oscar or something, man. Golly. That was nice.
We were talking the other day. I think it's 25 years we're at now, man. It's a quarter
25 century. Years. You aged
man.
about 11 months in that time.
Yeah.
Listen, so our topic today, are you actually what you eat? Now, you and I speak quite frequently, so this is just like regular for you and I, but I want you to begin today to unpack this really small but powerful sentence in the best way possible, and then let's just kick it around a little bit. What does this sentence mean to you, and how has it affected you personally?
Sure, yeah. I mean, I think it's just one of those things. It strikes me because people say it a lot. Oh, you are what you eat, you are what you eat. We say these things a lot. And I don't think that we do a good enough job of contextualizing
Right.
things in our culture. And so, you know, I what I wanted to do today with this question is challenge our understanding of it. And then, you know, what you'll find with a lot of people talking about nutrition and stuff is that they want to give you these secret foods that are going to change your life, right? And these powerful things that you can put into your body. And not that those things don't have some weight too, but what I want to do is, instead of giving you 5 powerful foods, I'm going to give you 5 powerful questions that you can ask yourself about the food that you eat. Okay.
Right.
And just to go ahead and get this out of the way, I do not believe that you are what you eat. I think that's a false statement, only because, again, it doesn't have enough context. The truth is that you are what you can digest. And people will often change their diets. And you know, I've seen this. I've been in health coaching for almost as long as I've known you, like 23 years.
True. Right.
And what people come to me all the time with is, but I've been doing all the right things. I've been eating all the right stuff, and I'm not losing weight, or I'm not sleeping better, or I'm still having pain, or whatever it is. And the reality is that one of the other statements that we make in our culture a lot is that everyone's different. Everyone's different. Well, but okay, what does that mean? What does that mean? If you really believe that that's true, what does that mean? Right? So you are not what you eat. You're what you can digest. Okay? I'm going to give you a little bit of just sort of information on that. But I want to give you the questions first. So I want to make sure we get that. Okay, so the first question that people do not ask themselves, and I'm starting to see this float around in the cultural conversation a little more often now. And I say float around, I don't mean that with no pun intended, but what's your poop like?
What's your poop like?
What is your poop like? Okay. And one of the first things that I will have somebody do is to take a poop journal. Start keeping a poop journal. So, you know, when are you pooping? How often are you pooping? What's the poop looking like? What does it feel like to actually expel this waste from your body? Even what times of day are you pooping? Right? I know that when I fly to, you know, we just got back from Europe, and I like to, when I go to another place, I like to make sure that my body's on the same schedule that it is. Like, so I generally go to the bathroom at the same times every day. Like from about 6 a.m. to 1 p.m., I'm going 2 or 3 times during those hours. If I'm pooping at night, something's wrong. Something's off. Okay, so ask yourself that question. Second question, this powerful question. How do you typically feel before you eat something? Now, this is probably my favorite question, because it's a question that, you know, the next question is, how do you typically feel after you eat? And people will sometimes be in tune enough to ask that question, but how do you typically feel before you eat is something that people don't consider. And these are questions that I'm giving you these are questions that I hold close. Like these are things that I coach my clients with. So use these things, leverage them. How do you typically feel before you eat? And what I mean is, we know that thoughts produce feelings, right? So what is the thought that you are having before you eat something, right? I'll give you an example. I had a client once who, and I say once, it's kind of like when you're writing a book, you know, you'll combine characters, you know, 5 or 6 people that you know. I say I had a client once, but this has happened repeatedly over the years. But this person was going to see his mother, and he would go and see her weekly. And his mother had a drinking problem. And he was so frustrated about his mother's drinking problem. And he would, he'd be complaining about this when we would talk. It would come up. He was really upset and, felt like she really had a very unhealthy relationship with alcohol. And every time that he came back from seeing his mom, he would buy a bottle of wine. And I asked him, I said, dude, do you realize that? Because he couldn't figure out why he couldn't stop drinking as often as he was drinking. And I said, ask yourself, what is the thought that you are having when you're at your mom's house and she's frustrating you and she's really, you're feeling all this bitterness and angst and anxiety, and you leave and, it's a totally different conversation to talk about you're doing the very thing that you're upset with your mom about. But the reality is that you are coping with your angst and anger with this thing, right? And people do this with sugar. People do it with salt, like people do it with cheeseburgers and, any number of things. It's not limited to one kind of thing, right? So what is the thing that you are feeling before you are prompted to eat? Okay. Number 3, how do you typically feel after you eat? And I always like to expand this past, are you feeling tired, right? Do you feel not necessarily energized? And people say that, but the truth is that after you eat, your body is doing something, right? Your body's digesting food. So, to me, it's not strange to have your energy go down a little bit after you eat. But if you feel like you are about to, flip into a coma, then that's not a good thing. That's not a good sign. Okay. But your body is digesting food, which requires your body's capacity and energy. So the idea that you're going to get up and feel like running, that's not a reality. Okay. So examining that. Here's something else that people don't think about. What do you do while you eat? Okay. And this is something I remember years ago, a mentor of mine asked me, hey, have you ever sat down and eaten and just let that be all you did? Have you ever sat down and not talk to anybody, not watch the TV, not look at your phone, not read a magazine, literally just sit in front of your food and eat it? He was like, it's hard. It's hard to do that. And what I find is that what's difficult for us really, and I was telling a friend of mine this about my business, actually, just that the challenge that I have personally is not, it's not resting, right? It's not ceasing from doing anything. It's doing one thing at a time. One thing at a time. And there's all kinds of, research here lately in the last 10 or 15 years on blue light and what that does to your brain and how that affects your appetite and all that stuff. But it's valuable to think about what it is you're doing while you're eating, because if you're doing something else while you're eating, then you're often eating unconsciously. So you have no idea when you're full, right? It actually affects your stomach acid production. So you could be eating a plate full of broccoli and think, oh, I'm eating something that's really good for me, right? And broccoli, which is loaded with protein, the digestive enzymes in your stomach, pepsin and hydrochloric acid, those two things are produced when protein enters the stomach. And the production of those is blunted when you're looking at your phone, right? And when your body is doing it, it's like talking out of both sides of your mouth, so to speak. You're giving your body mixed signals. You're saying, well, I'm eating, but I'm also doing it. You're dividing your attention and your capacity, right? So in a very real sense, your body's focus and energy is not strictly directed towards processing and metabolizing the food that you're putting into it. Okay? So, fifth thing, And this is a big one. Okay, this is the last one. But how much time typically passes between the last time you ate, and when I say ate, I mean the last time you put something in your mouth, and the next time you put something in your mouth? How long do you wait between meals? And I tell people, you know, digestion is the most stressful thing that you do all day. Like what is required of your body to digest food, and then to have it, to convert it into energy. And what most people don't realize is that whether you eat all organic food or you pull it straight out of the ground and eat it, and you kill your own deer or whatever it is, you are made of chemicals, and so is the food that you eat. Doesn't matter how pure the food is, it is chemical. That is what it is. It is a combination of chemical substances and substrates, and they form this physical thing that you're putting into your body. So it's going to have a chemical impact on your body. Okay? The time that it takes to do that, a higher fat meal takes a really long, fat is the hardest thing to digest, takes the longest to digest in your body. Okay? So the fattier meal that you eat, the longer it's going to take. Your gallbladder's worn down. Like, it takes a while for that to be digested. I typically like to wait at least 3 hours, and I say 3 hours if I'm eating a lot. If I'm eating and I'm in the gym a lot and I'm trying to put on weight or something, 3 hours. But I typically will tell a client, hey, you should be able to wait 4 to 5 hours between eating. If you can't, then you need to go back to that question. What do you typically feel and think before you eat something? Your body should be able to wait 4 to 5 hours between it. I don't think anybody on this call is, competing for powerlifting or going to the CrossFit games or anything like that. If you are, please speak up and let me know because you're going to be able to contribute something to this conversation too, and say, hey, this is actually what I do because these are the demands placed on my body. All of these things are contextual, right? Mm-hmm. But we don't ask ourselves these questions. And a lot of times these things will supersede the question of what am I eating? Right? We all know, I mean, everybody knows that, this food isn't going to be that great for you. You know that. You intuitively know, that a carrot is better for your body than a cookie, right? You know that. At a certain age, certainly you know that. My son is in denial. He won't, when he has a little congestion after having sugar at a birthday party, he refuses to believe that it could be the cake and the pizza. He doesn't want to hear that. Right? But we all know that one thing carries better value, right? Better overall value across the board. But again, even that's a contextual conversation. I'm not going to get into the minutia of that. But the reality is that it is not just what you eat, right? That part is subsidiary to what the environment is that it's going into. Okay, I think of nutrition as like communication. Communication is a two-way street, right? So you've all been there where you think, okay, I'm going to think about the best way to put this. Okay, what is the most succinct, intelligible, creative, sharp, clear way that I can say this? I'm going to say it to this person, and they still take it wrong, and they get pissed off, right? That happens because it's not what you are communicating. It is what is being communicated on the other end also. It's the environment that you're speaking into. So you can think of nutrition this way too. The environment that the food is going into is so much more important than what it is you're actually eating. Okay, I'm going to stop because I can talk forever. But,
I was letting you flow, my brother. I was letting you flow. That's some great, great information. I really enjoy listening to the steps because I think we move so fast, we don't think about those details, right? Put shoveling food in your mouth, or especially, in the city, watching people. I haven't been around any other culture. I've traveled all around the world. I've never seen a culture like ours where we are actually trying to eat faster to get to the next area. Everywhere else I went, they're like, come in, relax. What are you doing? Relax.
So true. So true.
We're like 20 minutes in and out. We'll
Yep.
get you back to work. We're like,
Yep.
wow, man. Michelle, what would you like to say?
Yeah, a couple things. First of all, because I live on my motorcycle, I can't afford to have that down after eating. So I eat really small meals. Like I'll take a half a cup of trail mix that's only nuts and dried fruit,
Mhm.
and that'll be a meal. And I'll eat like that about 6 times a day.
Mhm.
The end of the day, when I arrive at a host's house, is when I'll have a real meal, but I still eat a very small portion. Is that healthy?
Well, that question, is that healthy, is another one of
Mm-hmm.
those kinds of, there's no yes or no answer to that question.
Okay.
But what
Okay.
I'll tell you is that it are you sick?
No.
Okay. Are you able to navigate your life in the way that you feel like you need to?
Pretty much.
Okay, then I would say it's working. I mean, there's nothing, when so I've had some people come to me and say, that there's, well, aren't you supposed to eat 6 meals a day? Isn't that really the best thing?
Yeah.
And here's the thing. I define a meal as a protein, fiber, and fat. That's what a meal is, right?
Mm-hmm.
And really, depending on how you define or how you look at what fiber is, it doesn't even always have to include that.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing is that if you are eating 6 meals and you're gaining weight, right?
Yeah.
If you're eating 6 meals and you're up for, say, 14 hours a day, right? Let's say 16 hours a day. You're up for 16 hours a day. How many hours would that divide into for 6 meals? So, and this
I
is
don't
not for
math.
you. Yeah, my math isn't that great either, but 6 and 18 would be 3. So it's less than 3 hours for 16,
Yeah.
right? So,
Yeah.
my question for a person who came to me with an issue would be, okay, how is it working for you? If you're eating 6 times a
Yeah.
day, you're not losing weight, and someone told you that it just keeps your metabolism up. I mean, that's one of the dumbest things I've ever heard. It's just, it keeps your metabolism going. I mean, if again, it's about the demands of the environment, right? So if you
Yeah.
are riding your motorcycle all day, you're like, well, I don't need to eat a big meal. I don't need
Mm-hmm.
to, right? So
Yeah.
it's again, you're already doing some of that work. You've asked yourself the question. You told me when you got on, well, I don't have time to, right? That phrase describes the environment. Now, if we were in a coaching session or an individual conversation, I might say, okay, well, let's unpack that for a second. What do you mean you don't have time? Right? But you then went on to define
Right.
what that meant. Some people will say that, and that's not the truth, right?
Yeah.
It's the reality, but it's not the truth.
Right.
Okay?
Okay.
Yeah.
That makes sense. And then just a comment. Like Chase was saying, in Europe, the meal is a family event. And so you're not focusing so much on the food, you're focusing on being with family. So how does that fit into, focusing on your food?
Well, so when I'm speaking about focusing on your food, what I'm saying is that there's nothing wrong. Like I eat with my family. This is me saying, ask yourself, what am I doing when I'm eating? Okay, and like, if you are eating and your family stresses you out, then you might find yourself buried in the plate, and you might find that's going to send a different signal. It is a part of the environment, right? But it's not so much to say that these things are wrong to do. It is that we are navigating our lives in a way that we don't have any consciousness around what we're doing. So we will ask the question, what am I eating? But that question falls further down the chain in terms of, how your body is processing food. Because again, remember I said it's what you can digest, and digestion is affected by these decisions and awarenesses. For example, if you are eating, it takes 2 hours for your stomach to empty. That's if you have a healthy digestion. Okay, if you have a healthy digestive tract, fully functioning and all that, it takes 2 hours for the food to leave the stomach. But that's not when digestion is over. Okay, everything's still got to be broken down. The fats got to be separated. The carbs have to be like all of that stuff. The different enzymatic processes for different constituents. So then everything's got to go to the small intestine, and the blood's got to come through and swipe all the nutrients out, osmosis. And there's everything. So it's about how it is that what you're doing is impacting the digestion and the digestive process, such that what you are eating then becomes secondary, if not tertiary.
I hope y'all have your pens and papers out. I wrote a lot of stuff down. It's really, really great. Thank you for that question, Michelle. With all the information that you've given, Daniel, I was thinking to myself, as you were talking, there's certain people who have never thought about this process. And when you speak to, I'm just going to say a vegetarian, a vegan, or a person who eats everything in the American diet that we like to call that. At some point, do you believe that there's also a mindset component to what we're doing as a matter of, like, you ever see somebody who looks really healthy, and I swear I have 4 people like this in my life. They look healthy and they're always eating garbage, right? And I'm thinking to myself, like, wow, okay, to me, it's always what you can't see, right? What you can't see inside of a person that looks healthy on the outside, and then inside, and this has happened, I'm sure it's happened to you too, that person that you said look healthy, boom, they had a heart attack. Boom, they fell out at work. No one knows what's going on. Do you think that that's more common from the perspective, like I said, of mindset? When I say mindset, I mean like just in general, someone's like, yeah, life is great. I eat what I want. I'm going to die anyway. Oh, whatever. The crossroads of that. Do you think about that, or have you discussed that with your clients when you're working with them? Like, do you have a mindset component that connects to that as well?
I think, yeah, I mean, to answer your question directly, I think that asking questions is a mindset,
right?
Like, we can ask questions, which, invokes examination and, introspection and all that, or we can take statements like, you are what you eat. And then what do we do with that? We do the math and we say, oh, you are what you eat. So that means that years ago, there was this thing called the cabbage soup diet. And I remember that the way the diet worked is that they had you make this big pot of cabbage soup, and it had some vegetables in it or whatever, and you could have as much of it as you wanted. And people would lose weight. Well, of course, you would lose weight because you are in a calorie deficit and your body's metabolizing the fat. But the truth of it is that the mechanism that was behind overeating never got eradicated, because you can have as much as you want. So then when the cabbage soup is done, you go right back to the same habits and relationship with food that you had before. So it never, I don't, subscribe to veganism, vegetarianism, paleoism, fruitarianism, like carnivore, any of that stuff. All of those things are tactics. All of those things are tactics to manipulate what we know about how the body metabolizes food they're all roads into one reality, which is the body. It's not, I just don't believe that every person functions on one diet, but we take the statement that is true and we make it real for us, and then we start making decisions out of that statement rather than asking questions, right? Because I've known some people who ate meat who had heart disease. I've known vegans and vegetarians who have heart disease who have cardiac events. We know enough about cholesterol now to know that the presence of cholesterol is indicative of something else. That the body doesn't do anything by accident. It does it to help and assist in the survival of the organism.
Correct.
So when we find excess cholesterol, it's not the cholesterol that's causing the blockage or killing. It's something else that's causing the buildup of cholesterol.
Right.
So anyway, these things, the biggest thing is getting people to start asking questions when they come to you. That's really it. Like, it's ask questions, ask the questions.
Yes, I just let you go, man, because I think this is a really, really specific and needed topic for people to hear. I'm so happy that you were here today because the information is crazy. I love it. I'm writing it down. I think someone was, or maybe multiple people were highly affected by this information today. So I thank you so much for that. And that's our time, man. Wow. Quick once again. I wish we had some time for some more questions, but really the information that you gave, I thought was platinum valuable. I thought it was great. So we're going to take you out right now. We always end with our tenets, and they speak for themselves, right? Live out loud, right? Love a little harder than you are right now. Give of yourself. Please give more of yourself. The world is asking for it right now. Eat mostly plant-based. That's not to put you in any kind of canister. Just make sure that the body is intaking the things that aid it in the process of keeping it clean and moving in the right direction, as Daniel was describing. Sleep. We can talk about that again, Daniel. We didn't even touch on that one. Man, I would love to talk about that more. Sleep 5 to 7 hours or more, right? I'm speaking to myself because my sleep is not where it's supposed to be right now. So I'm working on that. And also, stress less, my good people. Find something to read. Find an energy that is calming for you. Be in nature. Stress less. Bring it down so that we all can reap the benefits of our magical systems that we're walking around with. And lastly, of course, check yourself before you wreck yourself. Very important. Thank you so much for joining us today. I appreciate you all. Thank you, Daniel. I'll be bringing you back because it's always excellent. And have a great one, everyone. Peace.
Thank you.
Thank you. Excellent job.
Everybody, thank you so much.
Thank you, Daniel.
Bye
Thank you,
now.
Chase. Thank you.
Great
Great work,
info,
guys.
great
That
info.
was
One love, guys, one love.
one love.